everybody, it's Romania Black, and I am a bittersweet Betty this week because, on the one hand, I'm finally getting to watch episode 9 of Frieren after I've been catching up on reactions from being gone with traveling and everything else. We're on episode 9, so I'm super excited about that because episodes 6, 7, and 8 were but on the other hand, it is the penultimate episode of the season, and I don't like this 10-episode season business. No, I don't like it at all, because just when you get really settled into a series, then it's over. And the worst part is, unlike, for example, Jujutsu Kaisen, which I'm watching on this channel as I'm recording this, unlike that series where I kind of know when the next season or the next part is coming out, we don't really know with Frieren. So it feels like we get just like a little dip of honey, and now it's going, the whole jar is going to get taken away. And it's like, no! I've honestly really enjoyed season 2 of Frieren. It has been consistently, week after week, so good. And I've just really enjoyed it. These last 3 episodes were just, mwah, chef's kiss. So anyway, I just couldn't wait to dive into this episode, and I know I'm going to wait a little bit for episode 10 as I'm going to record it, so I was like, well, we might as well. But since I don't have any comments to go over, since you all have not seen my reaction to episode 8 as I'm recording this, I wanted to go ahead and give a shout out because we have a few new people on the roster for the philanthropy tier over on Patreon. So if you're watching on YouTube, please go check out my Patreon. If you want to support me, that would be awesome. It helps support the channel, and I appreciate it. If for some reason you can't, that's okay. But do your girl a solid by please subscribing to the channel. If you see shows on the channel you want to follow me with, please do that. And if you don't subscribe, then at least please like the videos and comment so they can help the algorithm and help my channel reach out and get to other people, because YouTube is YouTube. So, but if you are on Patreon, I insanely appreciate all of your support for all of my rambles. It means an awful lot. So I want to give a shout out to everyone on Patreon. Thank you so much. And a special shout out to our philanthropy and commission tiers, because they donate a couple extra dollars each month because they're amazing people and they're so supportive, and I am insanely grateful. So to Alex Cornejo, as well as to Be Happy, Dana, Damage3245, Daniel Devorin, Destiny Marie, Diana Williams, Ichu, Eric Fisho, Ghostly Turnip, James, Elfreya, Poppy, Jessica Cullen, as well as Pancake, Lyndon, Murphy, Rast, Rose Jennison, Sunspots, Translucent Men, Shimoyama, Nicholas, Sean, Jason N, and Zero Anti-Zero. Thank you all so much for your support. I greatly appreciate it. All of my love. And that's what I got. So what's interesting is we had a 3-parter that we just finished. We just took care of the Divine Revolt, his demon posse. They are gone. We split up again. Methode and Jeannot went their own way. And now we're back to Stark and Frieren and Fern. She'd really like Cyan to be part of the team, but I don't know if they're going to even hint at that the last 2 episodes, or if it's going to have to wait till season 3. But with only 2 episodes left, it's like, what is left to do? Obviously, episode 10 is going to have to either set up season 3 or at least have something happen, but I don't know. So I guess we'll find out, but I'm not going to waste any more time with y'all. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. We are going to start the penultimate episode of season 2, episode 9, and we are going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. I should have known with the penultimate episode that this was going to happen. Oh, it's so good. Oh, man. So I feel like there is a very distinct trigger in me. Either I will not cry for anything, or there are some shows where just the vibe and the mood gets me and some things start happening. And I think with Frieren, it's not the thing itself that's sad and makes you cry, but it's the implications of what's happening and the stuff they don't show, but you get, and that slowly starts to sink in. And, you know, I'm in my mid-30s, so I'm not, you know, a 20-year-old or an 18-year-old. I am starting to become a little bit more aware of my mortality mortality. And so then shows like this that are all about mortality and about enjoying life while you can, and about the tiny minutia on this ridiculous journey. That's basically it. I was like, damn it, Frieren. Oh man. So yeah, I just threw that ball at the door. Let's talk about this episode because what a great penultimate episode. Although the only thing, it gave us a little wee bit of things that they might build on for the next episode. A wee tiny plot line, as I throw this to my dog, that we need to talk about. But let's go ahead and get this the screenshots for this episode pulled up here in 3, 2, 1. What was interesting was you could tell they were inside a carriage from the beginning of this, but oh my gosh, I'm going to have to look him up because I felt so dumb for you all. I usually pride myself on being an educated woman who keeps track of characters and knows who is who, but I'm going to be honest, after waiting 2 years from seeing the arc or whatever, the last exam arc, I was like, the exam arc characters, his name completely escaped me, and I was like, where are we gonna go? So let's figure out who was he. Dinkin, freaking Dinkin. How was I supposed to remember Dinkin? I felt so bad because for a hot second, anytime I see an old man, my mind immediately thinks Himmel, because, you know, all of these old men have been reminiscent of Himmel, you know, as he died before Frieren could realize, you know, the feelings that were mutual between the two of them. And so when I saw this old man for a very hot second, when I saw Dinkin for a hot split second, I thought, oh, this is maybe Himmel when he was aging. And then I was like, his hair's not blue. And then I was like, bitch, it's Dinkin. So I do apologize. I assume reactors make mistakes every now and then. We're all human. The AI hasn't completely taken over yet. But yeah, what was surprising about this entire moment is not only Dinkin traveling alone, because didn't he have like grandchildren or nieces or nephews that were traveling with him? But he goes to this one location. There is the Norm Company logo, so it's related to the Norm Company. So we've established that. But then when he gets out, they're like, "Are you sure this is far enough?" And he says, "It's fine. I'll make the rest of the journey alone." If he's in the Northern Plateau, where the Norm Company is, and he's by himself? What? That's crazy to me. That is crazy, because we have just established this season how dangerous the Northern Plateau is for 3 people, for 2 people, for 3 people, for, 5 people in Himmel's or 4 people in Himmel's party. So him being by himself is very interesting to me. I don't understand why he's by himself. I want him and Methode and Jeannot to hook up. He says, my destination is only accessible on foot. Okay. And they're like, okay. The way that this man said, take care, was like so ominous. The way that man said, take care, sounded like this is the last time I'm ever going to speak to you. So I'm going to get my words out now. Hope it ends well for you. That's what it sounded like. So I was very confused in this scene of why he was by himself. And then he takes off slowly but surely towards these woods. I am concerned. I don't know. Maybe we'll come across Dinkin in the season finale and that'll lead into whatever season 3 is going to be. But that's weird. Again, like I said in the OP, it was giving vibes of, I grew up on a farm, and so we had lots of barn cats outside. We had some stray dogs that came over, and it was not uncommon for an old cat at the end of its years, it would suddenly just walk off into the woods one day, it would disappear, and that would be the last time we'd ever see it. And, the story is that those animals, they know when their time is coming, and they go off on their own away from everybody to end their business, and that's that. But so I got that kind of vibe with Dinkin, and I was like, I don't like that. So I don't know what we're going to get with that. That's weird. And I was waiting the whole episode for Frieren and Fern and them to interact with him. I was waiting for them to get to the snowy village and to go out on the ferry and end up on an island and he would be there. I kept in the back of my head the whole time. I was thinking, oh, he's going to show up. No. Or at the Dragon's Den or something. I was thinking he was going to show up, but he did not this episode, which is interesting. Okay, so going back, we have two things that we've not seen. There's Foss. We saw him. We see Methode and Jeannot in the cathedral. There's this man on a bridge. I don't remember him. And then there's this. Is that Sinan? Who is this? Who be this? Yeah, I don't know. They're the last two that we don't exactly have connections with. So I don't know if we're going to get that in the next episode or not. We'll see. We only got one episode left, so I guess. So we are in the Draken region, which is kind of fun because it's like dragons, Draken, kind of connect those two together of the Northern Plateau. And this dragon flight has just wrecked it. I wondered at first if it was like a demon attack because the demons that attacked the last village that Jeannot was from kind of had damage reminiscent of this. So I thought, well, maybe it's the same thing. But no, it was a dragon flight, which dragons are my favorite mythical creatures. So I was like, yes, more dragons. Love this. But Frieren, you know, she really kind of hits it on the head. She's like, when I traveled with Himmel, we were attacked by a flight of dragons. I love Hader and Isen's expression. Isen's like, no. And Hader's like, ah. And Himmel's like, yeah. He's like, we got this. We're just going to flee. He's also like, I got the woman of my dreams slung over my shoulder. All's great in the world. But yeah. So I love this where Fern and Stark like have their hands next to one another and there's like the goose with its goslings underneath them. So cute. Also, the fact that Stern, the fact that Stern is their couple's name of Stark and Fern. It's just Stern. The fact that Stark and Fern are touching each other and not like blushing or freaking out about it. Don't think I didn't notice. Don't think the shipper didn't notice. But yeah. And they're like, do dragons not normally travel in flights? And she's like, oh, you've got a flight that's a problem. She's like, that's not good. He's like, I'm asking you to slay him. Also, I want to point out kind of the, I don't want to use the word audacity, but kind of the, I mean, I guess it's normal in the Northern Plateau to seek out mages and request such things. But the fact that this man just casually walked up to her, knowing he had no money to give her, and was like, hey, can you go just take care of this really dangerous pack of dragons that could kill you all? That'd be great if you could do that for us. Knowing he had nothing to pay? I don't know. That was, we're going to talk about that. The idea of owing and, you know, not leaving people indebted. And Frieren's like, you all should really leave here. This village, you should move somewhere else. She's like, this village is in bad shape. Even if you fix it, it's probably going to get attacked again. And of course, the guy's like, this is our home. And also, at this point in the series and in the journey, they're pretty far into the Northern Plateau. I'm sure this guy would be like, where do you want us to go? To the other location where other monsters await? So I feel like the Northern Plateau, they're just kind of used to it and they've just kind of adapted and they're just like, we'll just rebuild and keep going. This is our home. We're going to fix the infrastructure. And so Stark and Fern are like, you know, we feel sorry for the villagers. We want to help them. And she's like, do you have any idea what facing an entire flight of dragons would entail? And they honestly got lucky because the way Frieren describes it is all the dragons are fairly young and they aren't like full-grown, huge-ass dragons or a certain race of dragons that are bigger than others. She's like, they're not like the one dragon we faced back in season 1. She's like, there's just a flight of smaller dragons. She's like, we kind of got lucky. Could have been a lot worse. We could have all been really seriously injured. And he's like, but, you know, we got to protect the people's homes. You said so. And then she's like, what can you give me? And he's like, well, we have nothing to pay you with. And she's like, that's not going to work. And he's like, the only thing we have is this terribly useless spell that allows you to say tongue twisters without tripping over your words. And then she's like, okay. But I like the concept that she has of, you know, anything worth something, like, is probably going to cost you a little bit. We're going to talk about it in when we get a little bit down into this scene. And she's like, do you know where the dragons came from? And he makes them go this way. So I really like the mana compass. That's freaking cool. What a cool world building thing. I love them taking mana from the dragon claw attack, making into a compass that leads them to the source of the mana. That's really cool. I love that world building. And again, they don't tell us that's what it does. We get the show not tell moments for using it. And it's a freaking cool device. But yeah, and Stark saying magic sure is amazing. You dang right it is. Very, very convenient. I love that Frieren's like, yes, keep the praise coming. Praise, Grandmama. And then Fern's like, this is not good for her development. Hey, she's had enough angst with her these last several episodes. Let's let her have some good development. So they basically look for the dragon. There was a couple moments here that were really cute. Like there was a squirrel on her arm as they were passing by. I liked that where we cut over and Fern is like carrying Stark over the levee, over the cliff. That's really fun. And then we had the squirrel that was on her arm. I wanted to go back to this one spot where it's spinning around and Stark's like, I found a stick. And he just throws the stick and then it just lands. What? What was the point of throwing the stick? I don't know. Maybe he was trying to determine if there's wind or something. But they find the nest of dragons. So let's count how many there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 dragons. And Stark blew through a significant number of them with his axe. I'm so proud of Stark. So she's like, they're smaller ones. We can handle this. But they are clever. So she's like, you can't let it be like, let it be like Jurassic Park where the velociraptors circle you and then you're screwed. She's like, we have to take them out. So of course, Stark is bait. I like how Stark immediately notices. He's like, I'm going to be baiting this, aren't I? And she's like, we'll draw them all to one spot, aka you, Stark, and then we'll take them down all at once. And I like how she tells Fern, she's like, we'll kill some of the dragons if there are any of them left. Her faith in Stark is so good. And he's like, that's a tall order. I like how confident Stark has grown since the last episode. That's really nice. And then he's like, you better use some spells this time. And she's like, well, as long as you don't end up slaying him first. Stark has since that battle with Revolt, I think that's boosted Stark's confidence quite a bit. He's like a Saiyan out here. Every time he nearly dies, he gets stronger and stronger. So him just cutting through them dragons like it's nothing. And then as he's cutting through them, it's called Cleaving Light is the one move. And he saves that. I like that they all just bundled up onto him like a bowling ball. And then he cut through them. I love that. Although before he cut through them, this part here, that dragon literally had him in his maw, could have decapitated him in that moment. That was a little bit scary, but he managed to get through, and then Frieren and Fern chopped through the rest of them, and then he helped with the final cleaving light. Loved that. The blood all over his face. I'm watching a couple other series on my channel right now, and the way that blood is patterned is from another series that it's giving me instant flashbacks. I found on my channel I've had a lot of overlap with character names and moments, so it's been it's been interesting this spring. But yeah, I love they keep him from collapsing. And he's like, that was a ridiculously intense battle. Which is 8 minutes into the episode. That was my thing. The moment they found that Cove of Dragons, I was like, okay, we're either going to do one of two things, because Frieren has been doing that this entire season. Either we're going to spend a lot of time and the entire episode on this one scene, or it's only going to take up half the episode and then we have the other half for another chapter. And it did. But I thought the action was good, and Stark got to show off, which was great. And Frieren is about the journey, not the destination. This one screenshot is maybe one of the funny. Put this in the Louvre. Put this in the Louvre. Put this in the Smithsonian. Put this in an art gallery. Just Fern and Frieren with ditto faces as they watch Stark with his head in a dragon's mouth. That is so freaking hilarious. I love it. I want this framed and in my bedroom. So, but yeah. He's like, Ison was fine after getting his head bitten too. I don't know what it is about warriors getting their heads bitten, but apparently it helps. Apparently it gives them Super Saiyan abilities to regain their strength. So anyway, the man brings out his grimoire. He's like, here's this ancient book that nobody wants. Take it as payment. And Frieren's like, thanks a lot. Going to be able to say all the tongue twisters now without having to worry. So as they're walking, Stark brings up the point of saying, like, you almost always demand payment for helping people. And she says, because that's what Himmel did. First of all, the fact that Frieren is doing something because it's what Himmel did, praise be. But also, I really like this explanation where she said, Stark's like, oh, I confirmed, like, I assumed he just did stuff for free. And she's like, I used to think the same thing. And he's like, well, what if I take that journal instead? And Ison does the same thing that Stark does, if you notice. There were a lot of comparisons between Ison and Stark in this episode, not only with the headstands and the way that they both exercise and prep for a battle, but Ison was like, oh, we shouldn't charge them anything. Stark kind of hinted at the same thing as well. We're just lucky that Fern does not follow haters' drinking habits. That could get a little dangerous, right? That's why we need Cyan back, right? And in any case, that kind of makes... Does that make Fern more like Frieren and Frieren more like Himmel? But he gets the little journal, and I love that he takes it and he starts journaling in it. And I love that every scene we have in this episode, Hater is next to all the booze, and Frieren, with her beautiful hair down, is like looking at him asking, why do you demand payment every time we help someone? I love she's just sitting there watching him as he's writing in his little memoirs. She's like, if they pay us, he says, if they pay us, they don't owe us anything. We're a party of heroes. What we want is to help people, not words of gratitude. So yeah, I think this is so fascinating. And I like this idea that he doesn't want anybody that they help to feel indebted to them. Because he's like, we're just doing our job. We're doing our duty. We're doing our job. But we don't want anybody to feel like they owe us anything. So we'll just take, even if it's the smallest thing, even if it was like food or a book or a piece of clothing, even if just the smallest thing is all that it takes, but we don't want anyone to feel like they owe us in the future. That's such an interesting take on the idea of helping people and like exchanging something for it. But also, it kind of creates a sense of like respect in a way, because I don't know, I feel like sometimes when people get things for free, they take it for granted or they take advantage of it or they don't find value in it, which, you know, if it's free, why would you find value in it? But I mean, for example, if you paid, you know, even $5 or $10 for a table, you'll probably at least take care of it because you're like, that cost me $5 or $10. But if you get something for free, then sure, maybe if you got something for free, you'll take care of it. But if it's something that breaks or something, you might not, you know, be as inclined to fix it or to restore it or to hold on to it because you're like, oh, well, this was free. And I know that's involving tangible things and not actions, but in the same vein, if someone does something for you, it's kind of like when somebody asks you to like feed your animals and then they're like, oh, you don't owe me anything, but you kind of do, you kind of do. So there's a difference between just saying, oh, thanks for feeding them and giving them nothing and being like, oh, hey, here's this one gesture. Like, my brother comes and takes my dogs out. He doesn't want to get paid. He refuses to be paid. But I'm like, okay, well, then I'm going to buy sodas and keep my fridge stocked. And when you come over, you can take as many sodas as you want anytime you want. That's kind of the same thing. It's not, paying him money necessarily, but it is giving something as a sign of thanks and so that you're not indebted, right? It's similar, which my brother and I don't live that far apart and it works out. So, but it's that kind of idea of creating this sort of like commerce, and then you also helped them and they're not indebted to you in the end. If we make people indebted, we haven't really helped them. Exactly. Meanwhile, Frieren owed like 500% interest on all the stuff they took from that one place from the Norm Company. And so she's like, oh, wow, I wish you had said something back then to the Norm Company about that. But I do like his philosophy here. It's really fascinating. And she's like, that's why I take ridiculous spells like this, even as payment. And then I like Fern's like, well, in the end, you just want the spells. And Stark's like, can we get a spell that prevents dragon bites? So then we get the title card, which is the Memoirs of Himmel, of course. And we go back to this past where they're stuck in the rain in this little shanty. I love that Stark does the same thing that Ison did, where he's just practicing doing his, like, Ison's like doing a handstand on one pinky. That's so cute. Hader is horrifically hungover. He's just drank himself into oblivion, which would be what Cyan would do. And Cyan would be doing the same thing if he was there with them. And then Himmel is just cleaning off his sword. While she's reading her book. And that's when he notices that he's like, well, adventures aren't just about strolling in the great outdoors. Sometimes an adventure can be just a bunch of crappy days in a row. Himmel, our man and savior, he is just the Mr. Rogers of anime. He's like, well, something good can come out of everything, guys. What are you talking about? Like, just, this man is too perfect. He had too much power. It's understandable why they had to kill him off. But he's like, you know, even if we're having a couple bad days, we can make that an adventure too. Like, he is the definition of making the best out of a horrible situation. The textbook definition. I also love, I don't know if any of you have ever watched Donghua or Danmai before, but there's a lot of Chinese fantasies where the sleeves are literally like Mary Poppins bags where they just reach in their sleeves and pull out like an entire roast turkey. When he's looking through his sleeves for the book, that's exactly what I thought of with this. Like, just characters reaching in and grabbing everything. And poor Himmel, he loses his memoirs. And he's like, no. He's like, I lost it. So I was like, they're going to find it in the other half of this episode, obviously. They end up at Lake Corridor, located on the Northern Plateau. I don't know if any of you have ever been to Chicago in the U.S. before, but Lake Erie and Lake Michigan and all that, all the lakes, the Great Lakes up there, in wintertime, it's adjacent to this. It's adjacent to this. I've been in Chicago in January before, and the water from the lake was rising up over the road, and it was so cold that as the water was rising up over the side, it was freezing. So the lake water was freezing onto the guardrails as it was splashing. That's how cold it was. Insanity. And it reminded me so much of this. Also, can we also establish that this man, the man that commands the ferry, is the most badass side character in this entire series. Badass side character without a name. We'll say that. But he's just sitting there in the coldest of weather, wind whipping in his face, unbothered, pipe in hand, scarf blowing in the wind, just unfazed. Like, this is a Tuesday. He's ready. Bring it on, nature. Like, what a badass. What a badass. He was great. But yeah, she's like, can you take us across the ferry? And he's like, bitch, what do you think? Also, the fact this little fish came up onto the dock and Stark's like, I've caught bigger in the last few days. And he just tosses it back out to sea. Wild. So I agree with Frieren that it was not a wise idea to travel. She's like, Lake Corridor is the largest body of water in the northern lands, larger than some inland seas. It's like, we can hardly see the far shore. Yeah, that's an insane distance. She's like, the large mountain ranges to the east and west disrupt the air currents, making this time of year hellishly stormy. And it's not unusual for the large ships to sink in these storms. And she's like, because of the wind, we can't use magic either. And she's like, the far shore is farther than you think. She's like, I'm probably the only one that has enough mana to fly us over anyway. So she's like, let's think this through. Also want to point out, love this little candle holder that's a seashell. That's freaking adorable. Love that. They got bread. They got some mead maybe. They got some apples. I also love that as she's talking that Fern is like taking her hair down so she can dry it. That's super cute. Do they have bunk beds or are they just two big beds? She's like, could we go around the lake? She's like, well, yeah, but that would be difficult. The mountain ranges to the east and the west. If you try to cross a stormy mountain range without a mountain pass, it's not going to work. So yeah, she's like, we should probably just wait here for a few months. So it looks like maybe they're bunk beds and maybe there's like two beds down at the bottom and then one at the top. Or is Stark going to get one bed and Frieren and Fern share the other? I love the seashells in the windows. Those are super cute. She's like, we should totally wait here a few months for the storms to pass, and then we can take the ferry across. It's safer and quicker than trying to find a way around. And she's like, fortunately, there's a fairly large port city and a trading hub. I like the two of them look at each other. There's a lot in this moment. I'm like, one is Fern thinking about being stuck in a room with Stark for months and months and the opportunities to grow closer to him. Is she thinking about that? But also is she thinking about the fact that Frieren also doesn't want to leave because she's like, wow, there's lots of grimoires I could check into while we're here. You know, the perfect place to pass the time. The storm gave her the perfect excuse, which, to be fair, I would not travel in this weather. I'd probably do the same thing. We're just going to camp out for a few months, wait for the storm to pass. I want to look at each of these like stills with you all. So there's Stark balancing on like Ison on the beam. Frieren is like reading her book while her head's, you know, hanging over the edge of the bench, and Fern's reading too. That's super cute. Then we have, we'll try to see what else. Yep, Stark is still training. He's still getting the mabs, still getting all that while these two are over here. Like the first week or so. This thing is interesting with the fish heads. Apparently it was good. They all seem to like it. I would think it'd be salty and bony as hell, but okay. Then they use their magic to help remove some of the ice flows. Frieren is hanging out at the library, of course. Then I like that as the Stark and Fern are on the corner of the room watching Frieren with all of her trinkets and her things and her spells and her books. Girl has just become a hermit and made herself right at home. And this man watching the storm. What a badass. Of course, Stark is nice enough. He is not going to leave no man by himself without sharing food and conversation with him. Stark's just a little... Who knew Stark would be a social butterfly, huh? Love that. So yeah, and then we see like how everything has changed. So, okay, there must be a bunk bed. Then Stark must be on top because Frieren and Fern start out on opposite ends there. So Stark must be on top or in a different bedroom. But yeah, she has made herself a home. There's a dang tentacle thing, an animal skull, her plant, her witch's hat, which I love, all the grimoires, shells, a knife, a set of scales. Just everything. Love that. Love how like lived in it is. And then the morning, she like, how Frieren made her way from one side of the bed over to lay on top of Fern. Who knows? Who knows? It's super cute though. So then everything starts to clear out. It's spring. They're ready to go back. And the man's like, take the ferry out. He's like, you could, but can you pay for the ferry? Which again, talking about the lesson from Himmel the hero, I'm sure that his grandfather told him about how Himmel and them came and saved their village. And Himmel said that they owed them something, so they paid them in some form or another. And so he does the same thing here to them. He's like, well, can you pay for the ferry? And Frieren's like, I may have spent all my money on the grimoires and things in the bookstore. And Fern and Stark berate her, but then come to find out, he's like, well, how about you do us a favor instead? I love they both look at her like, really? This is your fault, Frieren. She's like, don't berate an old woman. And he's like, on that island off the shore, there's an abandoned monastery protected by a barrier, and Himmel the hero's memoirs are said to be there. So basically what ended up happening is Himmel and Frieren and crew came through when that man's grandfather was a kid, saved a village, whatever. That's when Himmel lost his memoirs somewhere in the town or by the monastery, wherever he lost his memoirs. So they ended up leaving and going on their journey and moving forward without it. Then, presumably, the memoirs were found and taken to the monastery along with all their, like, ancient and rare books because it's Himmel the hero's memoirs. Of course it would be valuable. And then somewhere along the way, there was an attack and they put the barrier up and then they've just left it all these years. And now he wants to actually get the memoir. And so that's why he wants her to go and break the barrier. So yeah, that all makes sense. And so she's like, yeah, he did say he lost that memoir, didn't he? He was pretty disappointed. That's so sad when they cut back to him and he's just sitting there like, so sad. The fact also that Frieren remembered him being disappointed and being sad. The fact that that memory of all memories stands out to her. She's like, we'll take the job. So then they go back. I love the animation of them combing the hand through the water and the birds. The soundtrack in this episode was beautiful. Like, it was really lovely. And then they got to the barrier. Shipment of goods. And so, okay, let's go back to this. They're like, so lately, he says, many people and shipment of goods traverse this lake this time of year. And so then he says, and lately there have been rumors that a golden land where anything and everything is made of gold was found in the north. And then he says more people are crossing the lake than usual. And he's like, a golden land? Is that true? And he's like, who knows? When he said who knows, and it cut straight to Frieren looking over the edge of the boat, I was like, oh, bitch, I think I know who does know. I think I know who does know about the golden land. This girl right here, Miss Coy Grandmama, who's not saying a dang word, says, I've never met anyone who's actually been there. Well, the question is, it's probably just a tall tale. The question is, okay, so Frieren in this moment, the question is this her from before she joined HIMMEL'S party and she'd been here before? Mayhaps, perhaps. Also, is her arm turned to gold? Because she's holding her arm and it looks kind of weird. It almost looks like there's a shine to it. So does this demon have the ability to turn people's arms or legs or anything into an alloy that resembles gold or turn them into actual gold? We don't know. But yeah, I wanted to see a close-up. Yeah, so that's clearly a demon. Got horns and everything. Is that one of the sages? Is it the Demon King? Is it another demon? Don't know. Don't know. But we saw that image once before, early on in the season. So it coming up again is like, that seems intentional. Yeah. So she's been to the Golden Land. And maybe it's all a big trap. Maybe it's just a demon trap to lure in the humans because they're like, humans are greedy, so they'll probably come here and we can kill them. And she's thinking about how it's luring people in. And maybe since HIMMEL'S days, they were able to keep the trap kind of hidden and the demon from luring people in. But now that HIMMEL'S dead and the words got out. I don't know. If anything in this season, if any of this thing in this episode feels like a hint at what's happening next season, it's that. The Golden Land thing feels like a hint of what's to come. Right? So they get to the island and the monastery that has the bubble barrier around it. And so then they pop the bubble and go in. And I love that. I love that shot about the tea set and with the chairs and everything. The only knowledge that remains is a story about Himmel, the hero's memoirs. And there it is. The ultimate ship, the ultimate doomed ship where everywhere she goes, she gets reminders of this man. Like, I do think it is a handsome pose. It's a great pose. Interesting that they put the statue inside the monastery. But yeah. And then she picks it up. I should have known this was going to make me cry, but as she's reading his words in this moment, it's HIMMEL'S handwriting. And as she turns the page, what I love about this is that there are no words. There are no words spoken. We don't get to see what Himmel wrote, which at first was kind of frustrating, but then it's beautiful because as she's turning the page, it's a show not tell moment. Literally a show not tell moment where we see what from his perspective. And what I love about it is it's not just her. I was expecting for a moment for it to be just her because he loves her, obviously. But what I love about it is her, but it's also Hader and Eisen. Like, he loved them all. Like, they were all his friends in his party. And then to see, like, I like that he's, like, looking at Hader drinking, but then there's Frieren right beside him with the drink all to herself. And then this part here got me because it's all them walking on the beach. Hader and Eisen are having their own little lovely jaunt on the beach, you know, full-on BL style. But if you watch in this moment, as they go off, his gaze lingers on her. Just for, like, they're moving out of frame. And then it's almost like when the journey starts, it is all of them, and it is. He loved all of his, party members. But as the memoirs go a little bit further and we get a little bit more, like more time has passed, he starts to focus a little bit more on her, and like her going towards the mimic, like it's the best thing ever. And then all of them sleeping together and then traveling up the rocks and looking over, and there's Hyson carrying Hader and Frieren. Yeah. And then Hader and Ison's conversations, and then he looks over to her, and when she looks back, my heart breaks. My heart breaks. And then that's the end. And that got me because it just suddenly becomes real that it's just this little tiny moment in time, but then there's nothing like he didn't get to write the rest of his journey down in that notebook. And she knows it kept going, but it's lost to history. Only those that know. And she and Ison are like the only ones that know. Oh, and it's that kind of like beautiful mortality of it all. And then in that moment, she, like her looking up at the statue of him, like to thank him for keeping the journal, like to thank him for keeping the memoirs so she can look back on those things. And then she says, it's the everyday minutia of a ridiculous journey. Like they went to kill the Demon King, which is the big lore, the big mythology. But the fact that something so small, that's just of little everyday moments. It breaks your heart. It's so beautiful. It's not the destination, it's the journey. And just everyday stuff. Like that gets me, just everyday stuff. So yeah. She's like, here's what you asked for. Our fare is paid in full. And then he reveals that he kind of suspected she was the mage that traveled with the party of heroes. And when she asked, well, how'd you know it was me? And he's like, after seeing that wistful look on your face, how can I not? Girl showing her emotion. She's showing some emotion for once. Frieren's usually so cool and casual and hides it all, but nope, not in this. Not today, Cotton. Not today. And then she's like, was I really? And Fern's like, a little bit. And then, he lets her keep it. He says, you should keep it. There are more valuable books in here. It's more than enough for payment. The fact that she's going to get to keep HIMMEL'S memoirs on her at all times. So good. So good. So, like, we're going to reach the far shore before sunset. And then she's like, I don't know about these cool... I love that she calls the stuff Himmel writes down as cool catchphrases. Would they be cool now? I don't know. It's a waste of pages. Oh my God. She's like, who's going to say what's up? And then Stark's like, come at me, bro. And then sure enough, a Kraken shows up. And I love the humor of Frieren being like, the way to stop him is, bloomp. Hope you guys knew what to do, blunk. I believe in you, blunk. That was great. Loved that. And she's like, she's testing out the spell to let her say words without tripping over them. And Stark's like, oh my God. And he's like, how are you two so calm? It's scary. I will say it's part of the joke of how deadpan they are. If it's not your style of humor, then the fact that Fern and Frieren are so deadpan would maybe seem like mundane or kind of like, I don't want to say boring, but would kind of seem like, well, why don't they show emotion? But if you get the humor and the reason behind it, then it's brilliant. Mm-hmm. Man, that was such a good episode, y'all. I really am not fond of the fact that we only have one episode left of this season. I'm really not fond of that fact. I'm not looking forward to being at the end of our journey with Frieren. I saw a thing online. It just popped up a second ago, like earlier today. For a second, it popped up, and I was afraid of spoilers, so I clicked away. But it said that on the day I'm recording this episode, 2 years ago, Frieren season 1 ended, and now in like so many days, episode 10 is going to come out, and it's going to be the end of season 2. But Frieren is worth it. I would gladly wait 2 years for another season. It's so worth it. It's so beautiful. I'm likely going to be gushing a lot more and in more detail. I want to wait till after next episode to give my overall thoughts on the season, like my favorite episodes, which moments I like the best. I want to wait till after next week to do that because I want to see the episode, obviously, but it's just so good. I'm really sad that this season is ending because Frieren has been such a fun journey, but it will be worth the wait for season 3, hopefully, when it hopefully comes out. So I'm excited to hear your thoughts down below, what you thought of this episode. Did you cry? Did you cry? Tell me if you cried, because I don't want to be the only one here who did so. But if you shed tears and had thoughts about Himmel and his philosophies and musings, please let me know down below. I would love to know them. And in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back next week with the season finale of Frieren Beyond Journey's End Season 2. And I'll see you then. Bye.